What's going on, everyone? Today we are taking a look at the Aokzoe A1 handheld gaming PC. Taking a look at the specs, this has a Ryzen 6800U processor, a 8-inch IPS display with a resolution of 1920 by 1200p, a 65 watt-hour battery, runs on Windows 11, and weighs 729 grams. This comes in a few different configurations, but the one I have here has 16 gigabytes of RAM and 1 terabyte of storage. So taking a look at the console itself, I think they did a really great job with the overall design of this. The blue and yellow theme works really well, and the little circuit board design is a nice touch that really ties everything together. They have it on both sides, then they have some at the top and some at the bottom as well. So taking a look at the controls, you have your two analog sticks, which are a good size and overall feel comfortable to use. Below that, you have your D-pad, which honestly I'm not too crazy about. If you're playing a classic game that requires single button presses, then it definitely won't be a problem. But if you're playing a fighter and doing something like the Hayuki downright slide motion, then that's where it just feels a little mushy to me. Personally, I just don't like this D-pad style and much prefer the kind that you find on something like a PS4 controller. Moving on to the buttons, these definitely feel good and have a nice click to them. If I had to compare them to a console, I'd say they feel similar to an Xbox controller. So going over the rest of the buttons, right here you have your back and start button. These can also be mapped to different things depending on the game as well. Right down here you have your task switching button. So if you're in a game and you click on that, it'll switch you out from your program and bring you back to the home screen. Over here you have your virtual keyboard and mouse button. So this brings up a virtual keyboard like this. Or if you hold it down, it'll also turn your analog into a mouse cursor as well. And then right down here you have your turbo button, which brings up your in-game settings, which we'll go over shortly. Coming to the top, you have your power button, and then you have your volume up and down. This is a bit strange. So your up is over here, down is over here. I tend to get confused when I'm using it all the time, so I'm not sure why they put it backwards like that. Coming to the top, you have your 4 triggers. These definitely feel very comfortable and ergonomic to me, so I have no complaints about those. Coming to the back, one thing I really like is this built-in kickstand. It's very sturdy as well. You really have to apply some force to even move it at all. And once you put it, it's nice and sturdy. You don't want to use it, just fold it back in like that. And then as you can see, you have some nice grips built into the console as well. So going over the ports, at the bottom you have a USB-C port. This one is a USB 4.0. Then you'll also have an SD card slot so you can add more storage to the device. Coming to the top, you have another USB-C port, but this one is USB 3.1. Then you have your headphone port, and then you have a USB-A, which is a USB 3.0. So very cool that they include 2 USB-C ports, one at the top, one at the bottom, so you can use both. So say if you want to plug in a flash drive or something, you go ahead and put that at the bottom, and then go ahead and charge it from the top or vice versa. So definitely a nice placement they have there. Turning it on, the thing that made me go with this over the Ally or Steamdeck would have to be the screen. To give you a sense of scale, here I have the Nintendo Switch, which has a 6-inch screen. And then I have another streaming device console I have, which has a 7-inch screen. The 7-inch isn't bad and most games are fine, but there were some games like Horizon Zero Dawn where it just felt too small. I tried that same game on the Aokzoe and it was definitely a much better improvement. Personally, I find the 8-inch screen to be the perfect size. It's not too small, but it's also not too big where it'll make the device too heavy or clunky either. So diving into the console, this does run on Windows 11. So aside from looking like a game console, this is pretty much a regular PC. You can run Spotify, Photoshop, and pretty much anything else you can do with a computer. Yes, 90% of the time people are going to use this for games, but I just wanted to point out that this was a very capable PC as well. Everything here is standard Windows except for a few things that were designed for this console. So if you press this button down here that I mentioned earlier, the turbo button, that brings up the settings menu, and there's a few different things you can do in here. You can change your TDP here at the top, which is how much watts are being sent to the graphics card. Then you got your GPU frequency, your fan mode percentage, vibration settings, resolution. You have a few different settings here for your RGB lights. So right here we have RGB lights, and then you can go ahead and change that out to get a different effect as well. You have a built-in performance tracker. You have your vibration, your gyroscope, Then you have turbo mode, brightness, and volume. Right now I had it set to 100, but 90% of the time I use this console, I'm always at 75%, and that's like the perfect brightness for me. So unclicking that, if you click it one more time, but this time hold it down, this will bring you to their built-in launcher. It's a little basic, but honestly it works good without any issues. So overall, no complaints there. Then to exit that, you just hold that down again, and that'll bring you back to the Windows screen. So I've been using this for about a month now, and honestly, I am impressed at how flawless this runs. I have not had any software or hardware problems, and every game I installed has ran without any issues. There was only one very small issue I had, but that was very easy to fix. So out of the box, the default touch keyboard was disabled. So you touch a space like this. I accidentally closed that out. So you touch a spot like this and nothing would happen. And to get to the keyboard, you have to click on this button here and use this keyboard, which I honestly don't like. It's just looks very generic. It's very small. But as you can see, I now did that simple tweak, and now I have the nice Windows touch keyboard instead. That aside, everything else has gone very smoothly and is just the same as using any other gaming computer. Alright, so let me go ahead and open up some games so I can show you how this performs. So first up, I have Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. This runs anywhere from 40 to 60 FPS. On average, is somewhere around upper 40s. I have this on medium settings. Honestly, on a lot of games on this console, or any portable console, the difference between medium and high is usually not very noticeable, because it's such a small screen that even if you do get finer details, you really can't notice them very much. If you were to output this to a TV, which you can easily do, then you would notice a lot of the lower graphics. But on this screen, you could run a lot of games on low settings and it still looks great. Yeah, so it rarely drops below 40. Like right there, it had a quick dip to 30s, but majority of time, it's pretty much in the 40s and up. Next up, we have Resident Evil 2 Remake. Right now, I have this on low settings with medium textures. It spikes up to 60 FPS sometimes, depending on the environment, but the majority of time, it's somewhere around 40 FPS. If it's very, very busy, it might dip into the upper 30s. But for most of the time, it's up there in the mid to higher 40s. Definitely very, very playable. And even though this is only on the medium textures, still looks very good on the smaller screen. Definitely happy with everything Resident Evil has been doing lately. Big, long time Resident Evil fan. Resident Evil 6 on the, PS3. Absolutely hated it. Thought they were going to go downhill. But with all these remakes, they're definitely doing a lot better. Village was great. Really looking forward to the Resident Evil 5 remake. I really hope they keep that one 2-player, because that's one of the things I really liked about that one, was the 2-player mode. But I guess we'll find out in a year or two once that comes out. Quite a few zombies on the screen, and we're still maintaining about mid 40s. And I just died. Hard to play and review at the same time, but overall, very good performance. Next up, we have Balers Gate 3. Admittedly, I have no idea how to play this yet. I've never played any Balers Gate games. Big fan of Diablo games, but I've never played these. They look similar, so I just got it. Honestly, I haven't played it yet, except for the intro, testing it out, but you can see it holds on about 40 FPS. This is all on low settings. A lot going on at this certain area. Alright, so I have my first battle here. Again, barely learning how to play this, so don't entirely know what I'm doing, but overall it looks like the battles are pretty simple, so it's holding on to a pretty good 39 to 42 FPS. Yeah, so a few dips here and there, but overall definitely very playable as well. Next we have one of my personal favorite games. This is Defense Grid 2. Not a very graphically demanding game, but it's one of my favorite games to play. I think it's like from the PS3 era, but overall still looks very good to this day, so I still play it often, but the gameplay is just really fun. It's a tower defense game. You got 30 waves, but once you get closer to that 30th wave, there's a million things going on at once. It could get real busy on the screen. That's where the FPS will drop a little, but overall definitely stays close to that 60 FPS. All right, this is going to be a trash run through because it's going to be nearly impossible to film and talk about this and then play strategically at the same time. In my opinion, these are the kind of games that you end up playing on these kind of consoles most. Yes, it's nice to have really graphical games, but personally, I like playing more chill games like this. Then there's also games like Dave the Diver and a few others, which just fit the more handheld environment. All right, so let me go ahead and get this going, and I'll skip ahead so you kind of see what I mean with a million things going on at once. All right, so now I'm on my 8th wave, and like I said, I just place things everywhere just to kind of get the screen busy. And you can see it just pure madness happening. And like I said, the graphics aren't that bad. This is an older game, but definitely still looks very good. And you can see the entire time is holding on to that 60 FPS. While I was testing this earlier, I filled up all of this, and I think there was a few times where it dipped to like mid 50s, but overall it's going to hold on to that upper 60s. So yeah, if you're into tower defense games, definitely check this one out. It's one of my favorite ones out there, one of the best ones I think to do it. This is like the perfect laying in bed game for me. I'll say I'm going to play it for 20 minutes or something, but I get so caught up trying to get a perfect on every wave that I'll end up playing the same level for 2 or 3 hours and going to bed much later than I plan to. But yeah, I've used this in bed a lot as well, and honestly, it's not that heavy. I've played with it kind of, sitting in bed looking at upward. And there's never been a time where I felt like it was too heavy or my hands got tired. Yes, it's heavier than something like the Nintendo Switch, but when you consider that this is an entire computer with an 8-inch screen on it, it's kind of inevitable, but ergonomically and weight-wise, I'm definitely happy with that as well. All right, so next up, as a bonus, I have one of the most graphically demanding games out there. Not many devices can handle this game, but this one handles it very, very well without any issues. We have Plants vs. Zombies. As you can see, this is a very, very graphically intense game. A lot of ray tracing going on. A lot of devices would struggle with this one, but this console has no problems at all. FPS counter isn't working for some reason, but I'm sure it's getting somewhere around 500 FPS, maybe more. Definitely very, very impressive performance. If you haven't played this game, definitely check it out as well. One of my all-time classic favorite games. I think this is one of the first tower defense games that I really got into. This was way, way back when it was only on PC. Then it went to the mobile app. I always hoped they would make a 2-player version where one person can be the plant, the other one can be the zombie, but they went with the PlayStation version of the Plants vs. Zombies, which is the first-person shooter. Honestly, I didn't like that one at all, so I wish they'll go back to this style and make a multiplayer game. That'll be really great, like a Plants vs. Zombie 3 or something, but till then, I always go back to the classic. It's always a game that I enjoy playing. Again, perfect kind of game to play on this console. Just lay in bed, click away. Touchscreen works very well. Playing like trash right now. The zombie's gonna eat my plant because I was too busy talking and not putting pea shooters. But let's go ahead and push one. See if he can kill him on time. And he's not. He killed him. I have no time to put another pea shooter, so I'm dead. But again, if you haven't played this game, definitely check it out. One of my all-time favorite classic games. Overall, this is definitely a great gaming handheld, and honestly, I was torn between buying this and the MetaQuest 3, but I am 100% happy I went with this first, as I've gotten a whole lot of enjoyment from using this. This is my first gaming handheld of this kind, so I can't really compare it to whatever else is out there, but from my own personal experience and how smoothly everything has gone so far, I can 100% vouch for this as a great device. So overall, if you happen to be in the market for a portable console, this one here is definitely a great option to consider. All right, well, that about wraps up this video. As usual, if you have any questions at all, feel free to drop me a comment and let me know. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.